Gary Atanu with CNTV, and today we're in the Denver Tech Center. I'm here with Shay, Lowe, a Remax professional. Since 2004, she has been growing her real estate business through personal relationships and great customer service. Thanks so much for joining us, Shay. Let's start off a little bit about yourself. The real estate industry is something you're obviously involved with. How did you get started doing this?
I started by, we were looking at a career shift for me from one career to another, and my husband and I had always loved the real estate end of things, so we always visited open houses, and I saw a huge need for consumer advocacy and education. We had personally been burned in our first transaction that we had ever done in real estate. We were very young and very unknowledgeable, and we put our trust into somebody that we thought worked for us, to find out later that he actually worked for himself. And so we lost our first house, and I realized when I was looking at changing careers that it gave me an opportunity to help others and to educate the buyers and the sellers out there, and to possibly even protect their interests and keep them from being put in the same situation we were in.
Absolutely. I mean, speaking of protecting folks, real estate probably is the largest investment that most people will make in a lifetime. Why is this a time in their life you really don't want to go it alone? You want to make sure you have a professional in your corner.
I totally agree. And a lot of our clients that we bring on, we sit down with them, we learn about what they're looking for and about their history and what is important to them in purchasing a property. And there's more to it than what a lot of people realize, from not just finding the home, but making sure the finances are in place, making sure that if something worst case scenario was to happen in their lives, that they can keep their homes is a very key factor. So many times folks will look at, well, I qualify for this amount, but what we look at is, for my team, if there's two individuals, well, what happens if the one that makes the most amount of money loses their job? Can they still keep their home even after that happens off of the income from the other party? And so we've done that over the years, and we've really looked at those things. And I was about 3 years into real estate, and I had one couple that he made a lot of money, and she made decent money, but not near as much. And we built it around her income, found them a beautiful home. And about 3 weeks later, he called me, and he was in tears. And I was like, what's wrong? And he says, I just got laid off today. And I went, okay, what are we doing? And he says, we don't have to do anything, because the way you structured it, we get to keep our house. And that's a huge thing to me. So
it's a perfect example of one of the sayings I've always said is sometimes you can go things alone if everything went perfect. But when something doesn't go perfect, you need a professional that understands or sets things up in such a way that it doesn't become devastating for you. Obviously, it's official. Denver is a hot market. I mean, quite honestly, it's amazing what's happening here in the past couple of years. Why do you think folks are attracted to Denver?
Oh, Denver has so many varieties and options. I mean, from downtown and all of the events that take place to Highlands Ranch and the bike trails. And I mean, we're minutes from the mountains, and we're minutes from lakes, and we're the hiking trails up in Boulder. All of the events, our great Broncos team, and just there's so much available here in Denver. And people just love that they come to visit, and they just don't ever want to leave.
I believe that, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing when folks decide to buy or sell because of the fact sometimes they try to go alone. I mean, when we want something done right, we call a professional. I mean, we call a plumber, we call the yard guy, we call a mechanic to work on our car. Why is it calling on a professional even more important when it comes to buying and selling real estate? Because we're talking a lot of dollars are at stake there.
The way I look at it, Gary, is it's like, say if you have to hire an attorney. So a lot of people understand that there's listing agents out there. They see all the signs in the yards and they see the listing agents. What a lot of folks don't understand is that you can have your own buyer's agent, and there's a big difference in those two things. So when I work for a seller, I only work for the seller. And so, like, say I do an open house for a seller, I will explain to the buyers that are coming in, I'm the listing agent. Please don't overshare. Don't tell me all about your finances and what you're qualified for, because my job is to take that information and share it with the seller. On the same side, when I work for the buyers, I only work for the buyers. And it's protecting their interests and their assets, and it's one of the ways that we look at as being very important for myself and for my team members. There's another side of the transaction, which is transaction broker, and they're middlemen. You'll see a number of agents will take a listing and they will look at double-ending that transaction. I don't offer that service. I want the seller to either have protection, and I will actually encourage the buyers to bring an agent in, because I would rather pay that other agent so that I know the buyer is being represented as well. And it's once again, it just goes back to that consumer protection. But it would be like using the listing agent, to me, is like the analogy of going to court for something. If you go to court, you normally hire a professional to represent you. But as the buyer, it'd be like hiring the other party's attorney to represent you. You wouldn't do that. And that's how I look at it in real estate. When you're hiring a professional, you want somebody that's there to protect you, whether you're on the selling side or on the buying side. And that's a very key important component to the way I transact in my business.
Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to buying or selling, obviously, getting it done right is important, and hopefully that's more than just putting a sign on the front yard. Why is it important for people to align themselves with a nationwide leader like that of Remax and be part of that online community?
Oh, having the Remax background is a major importance. So they have resources that they don't necessarily have with a lot of other places. When you think of Remax, you think of, the balloon and, the local marketing. But the power behind it is not only locally, it's nationally, it's international. Remax is just known so well. When I drive down the road in my truck and it's got Remax on it and this great big eagle, people walk up to me all the time and go, "You're with Remax?" And it's like, well, yeah. Well, are you working here in this town? Well, it may not be a town that I work in, sure, but we have agents there that I can refer you to that are highly professional and highly qualified and will take care of you. So just having that name background, I'll be honest with you. So I was with a smaller company for years, and my business was doing very well, but it really wasn't where I wanted to take it. And I went to a couple of very high-end properties, and they loved me, and they loved what I offered, and they loved our marketing package. And when I told them the company I was with, they went, "Who's that?" And I lost those deals. Even though what I offered them was what they wanted, I lost those deals to Remax agents. And after 2 deals in under a month, I went, I'm going to where the...
Absolutely. I mean, obviously people aren't losing business asking who's Remax. I mean, everybody knows that, and it's a very powerful company. Is it important for you to educate your clients on every step of the process? I mean, be it from getting a comparative market analysis on the front end, making sure they're putting the right price on their home so that it does sell, and all the way through as far as staging it and getting it ready as well.
Oh, absolutely. The selling process of a home starts months in advance. It's not something that, an agent can walk into the week before they want to put it on the market. It takes time to go through it, making sure that the home is presentable for the majority of the buyers that are out there. Some folks like lime green, and they'll paint certain rooms in their homes lime green, but the general public may not be a fan of lime green. So being able to get through the property and do a walkthrough and make sure that the little items are fixed that need to be addressed. Staging is a huge thing. For my clients, I bring in a stager. I pay for a stager out of my pocket to come in and consult with them and give them some instructions and directions, because I'm not an interior designer. And I think that's one of the things that sets me apart from so many folks is I'm not an interior designer. That's not what I specialize in. So I'll bring in somebody that is. Having the home pre-inspected before it goes on the market, so that you know of possible things that can be issues, so that those issues can be addressed and resolved before the buyers even have to get there and worry about it. There's so much in advance that has to be done. It's a huge process.
I mean, it's not like going out and just buying a suit for the weekend. I mean, you go off, grab it, if it feels good. This is something that takes some time, and it can become very overwhelming for people. Obviously, folks value your time of what you put in and help them, but you also value your clients. You value their time. So it's important for you to actually listen on the front end, get the details of what it is they want, and that is something that it's part of the relationship you enjoy.
Absolutely, and when listening to them, where are they going next? What's their next steps? It's one thing to decide to put your house on the market, but normally there's additional items that go along with it. Are they staying locally? Are they downsizing into a smaller house because they're empty nesters now? Are they upsizing into a larger home because their family's growing? Are they relocating? If they're relocating, even if it's someplace, say they're down in Highlands Ranch and they're being relocated to Fort Collins, that's a huge additional amount of stress into the process. So on top of, whatever else is going on in their life. So being responsive to them, being available to them, making sure that they know that they're a priority. I give my clients a little thing that says, if it's an emergency, if I'm with clients at one time and you need me, you send me a text message that says 911. I will step out of what I'm doing and I will get back to you, because that's important that they know that they have somebody that is number one, attentive to them when I'm with them, but when I'm not with them, if it's really something that's going on that they need my immediate attention, that I can step out and get back to them right away.
It's amazing to me that real estate agents have to know information for depending on what side of the table they're sitting on. I mean, it's amazing how they have to shift gears to protect whatever it is they're actually taking care of. One of those skills, though, regardless of what side of the table you're on, is that of negotiations. Something that most people don't even understand how it's done or what can be put on the table, what can be taken off. Is that an area that you're able to help with?
Negotiations. I love negotiations, especially in this market for my clients. Whether it's the buyer or seller side, my job is always to look out for their best interests and to be able to determine what is really, if I'm representing the buyers, what's really the seller's motivations, and being able to protect my client's interests without oversharing and giving their hands away. On the seller's side, being able to look at all of the offers and determine, it's not just all about the price. A lot of folks think, well, if I give a higher price, then I'll get the property. But it's all about those little fine details that are also part of the contract on either side. And there's no standard way to write an offer. Each individual client's needs are different, and each contract is different. That's one of the great things about this business is every deal is never the same. Right. It's always different. It's always changing, the different personalities, and so it's just always a great learning experience.
Wonderful. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is her contact information. The contact information is right there. Like she likes saying, she's just a phone call away. Check out the Remax website as well. What you're going to find there are a plethora of tools that will help you, regardless of your selling or your buying. You can take a look at market analysis right there. You can see some links that will help you to find out how much a mortgage would be. Calculators are in place. Getting yourself pre-qualified. Many consumer tips out there as well that'll help you go through the steps. You can click and find out what's going on in your neighborhood, and if you're not sure, just give a call and she can basically help you through that as well. You yourself, you've built a business off of, like I say, the old-fashioned way of personal, lifelong relationships, and also making sure you're there for folks. Do you think the rough times that you had at the beginning are really end up helping you in the long run, really be more in tune to people and not just the industry?
The learning curve initially was definitely an educational piece for me. We intentionally stepped into the real estate market when we saw a crash coming, because I knew that I needed time to learn all the ins and outs and learn what the consumers were going to need. I have a consumer-based background to start with, so listening to them and understanding what their wants are, what their needs are, and what's important to them. It was a huge opportunity for me, and I had a number of first-time clients, and they were wonderful because they knew I was new, and they allowed me to use them as ways of learning the right way to do things. And I'm grateful to all of my past clients, my current clients, my future clients, because they've all just always been so great to work with. And even when things aren't going super well in a transaction, they know that I have their back and have the knowledge to help protect them.
Excellent. Like they say, I mean, we hear that basically agents care for the clients. It can be cliche, but I get a sense you really do care for folks because they kind of care back for you as the same way, regardless of what step along the experience that you're at or where they're at. This is really about two people helping each other and being there for one another.
Absolutely. I years ago, when foreclosures were huge, I got into real estate auctions. I wound up becoming the local Colorado expert on real estate auctions because we had so many foreclosures and so many auctions going through. And one of my dear friends wanted to look at it, and we got caught in a blizzard driving all the way down south past Larkspur into the wilderness area, the Hayman Fire area. And we spent about 12 hours in the car together, getting down there and back. And then we went to the auction. It was my first one, and his property was the second to last one to be auctioned out of about 100. And so, and we didn't get it. But it was an education process for both of us. And it was just, I know that my clients and my friends can call me and say, hey, I need your help. And at the same time, that's reciprocated. When I need help, they're there as well.
Wonderful. Viewers, last time, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is her contact information again. Just as simple as reaching out on a phone call there. She is available. And to answer any of the questions you may have, be it buying or selling, possibly if this is your first home, you're not sure, a little overwhelmed, she can help you there as well. Or possibly you're a veteran looking at your third, fourth investment property. She definitely has an eye out for that type of thing as well. This is a real estate professional that has been around since 2004, helping and caring for folks out in the Denver market. This is Gary Atanu with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.